I'd like to call to order our August the 2nd, 2020 Jones County Board of Education meeting. I'd like to thank all visitors, guests, and all those watching virtually in attendance. Ms. Candace, let the record show that we have a quorum of 5 board members present in the boardroom. Mr. Griffin, Mr. Walston, myself, Mr. Brown, and Ms. Fee. Also present in the boardroom, Superintendent Dr. Thigpen and Board Attorney Colin Shive. At this time, I would like to ask all to stand for our Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This time, I'll ask for the approval of the regular session Jones County Board of Education meeting minutes on June 29, 2021. I don't know if y'all had time to review those.
How much to approve those?
I'll second it. I didn't see anything when I looked at them.
On the 29th?
29.
Yes.
June 29th.
How much to approve the minutes for 29th?
Mr. Walston made a motion to approve. Mr. Griffin second. All in favor? Aye. All opposed, say nay. Motion carries. This time I'll ask if there's any adjustments to our agenda, but I want to add an adjustment. We need to relook at the June 7th, 2021 minutes. I'll add that in as a item F, and then move the special resolution to G. Is there any other adjustments to the agenda? Entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Walsh to approve the agenda, second by Mr. Brown. All in favor say aye. All opposed say nay. Motion carries 5-0. So there was a minor adjustment on the, I think Candace just printed off the June 7th minutes. Does everybody have a copy of them?
Yes, sir.
There was an item 7. Just the way that was worded last time. Candace has already made the adjustments. Just want everybody to read over that and see if it matches to what we did. If all looks well to y'all, we will. I'll entertain a motion to approve or to accept them.
Read the adjustment. Because I ain't found which one it is on mine yet.
Item 7 on the June 7th minutes. The way it read before, it was like you made a motion to amend the agenda and we voted on that. And then on item B, it was almost like we made a motion again to amend the agenda. And that's not what happened.
Okay.
I have a motion to accept June 7th.
Byron, hold on just a minute. And you say this is item 7?
Yes.
I must be in the wrong place. I got,
It's already been changed.
This is closed session.
okay.
It's when we made the vote. We were at the high school. We made the vote for the contract extension.
Uh-huh,
Dr. Thigpen.
okay. And
What Candace has printed, she's already made the corrections in this one. This is the one that will be approved.
We just gotta approve the correction on that, the way it's printed, yeah. I don't have no problem with it. After I finally found it. Yeah, I was,
I think I understand what Mr. Watson probably, you're looking for your no vote.
Yeah,
Do we have the same thing?
yeah,
Yeah, see, it shouldn't have.
Is that the June 7th?
item 7.
No,
June 29th.
Look at the Harry, says Harry Brown. Top. Harry Brown Jim.
Maybe he ain't the wrong one too.
Have you got the right one, June 7th?
The one I'm reading right here is concerning personnel report.
Yeah, he got it wrong.
Mm-hmm.
It was-
It's Harry Brown. Got the Harry Brown
he
Jim
got it wrong.
at the top.
I think he might be looking at the wrong one.
Yeah, you know, it might say Harry Brown Jim.
Just the first one.
the one I'm seeing don't say,
Yeah, looking at it, right. And then, so we came down here, Mr. Griffin made the motion to amend the agenda, then we voted again.
Got you.
Yeah.
All right, I'm sorry, my bad. I hadn't read far enough. Thank you, Mr. Miller. What do we need?
Motion to approve.
I'll motion to approve.
Got a second.
Motion by Mr. Walsh to approve the amended minutes from June the 7th. Second by Ms. Fee. All in favor, say aye. All opposed, say nay. Motion carries.
I didn't take Evelyn Woodhead. I hadn't got to that part yet.
Moving on to item G, special recognition. Dr. Dickman.
We want to honor tonight someone who's leaving us, who's going to on a new venture, but we want to thank him for the time that he spent with us in Jones County. I've been here for 21, working with David about 21 months, and he's just been excellent as far as supporting me, helping me transition into this role, and then being very supportive of everything that's been done. People in the county look to him because he has such a knowledge of the county. He spent 18 years here in service. That is commendable. And I'll just read what the plaque says. It says, we want to honor Mr. David Moody. This is in appreciation of your loyal and dedicated service for 18 years. Thank you for your hard work, commitment, and your contribution to Jones County Schools. Mr. Moody.
Thank you.
Good.
Good luck, bud.
Yes, sir.
You got to change things.
Charlie Gray didn't even know you were leaving, so you can tell us whose secret it is. I mean, literally, that's fun.
Mr. Moody, we're certainly going to miss you.
I'm gonna miss y'all as well. I'm only 30 minutes down the road and phone call away. And I'm gonna continue to be your biggest cheerleader.
We didn't even ask you if you wanted to say something. We know you got something to say.
Don't let your voice crack now.
You never been short for words.
No, not a lot, but I am, have been truly blessed to work with so many great people over the years. Started here in Jones County just out of college, and it was the best decision I ever made. Teacher, principal, curriculum, assistant superintendent, and along the way, I met so many great people that have impacted my life. Some are lifelong friends today and will remain lifelong friends. And so I just implore y'all to keep doing what y'all are doing as a board, and always make sure that you put students first in Jones County. Thank you all so much.
David, I'm originally from Lenore County. We moved from a house right in front of where Parrott Academy is in 1968. And my mama worked with some folks in Lenore County, and they said, Jones County, I hope y'all are safe down there. I want you to don't tell them people no different. It's the best kept secret in the state, isn't it? Thank you, bud.
Thank you.
All right, we'll move on into item number 2, public comments.
We did have a couple. Yes. Jack Williams was first.
Colin, are you gonna speak on the guidelines?
You have the sheet of paper that we used to have?
I put it into this folder.
You did.
I did.
Just tell them we have 3 minutes and I can't say, we ain't gonna answer any questions.
Hey, Billy, right here. Thanks, sir. This is Mr. Jack Bender.
How are y'all?
Good.
All right, bud.
Ms. Jack, before you get started, let me go over some guidelines.
Yes, sir.
Time for public comment has been established by the board during the period noted on the board agenda. In order to address the board, you must register prior to the start of the board meeting. Please read the parameters for the comment period that are set forth on that sign-up sheet. Comments will be limited to 3 minutes per speaker. The discussion period shall not exceed 30 minutes at any regular board meeting except by permission of the board. The board is not required to and generally does not respond to any public comment or questions received at a meeting. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank all of y'all. First thing I want to do is thank you for the work you do for the county and for the kids particularly. I've talked with a couple of you, you know, my concern is the mask. And I won't have 3 minutes comments because that's all I got. But I did do this. The four on the right, or my right, is my concern. They all live in Pottsville. I got a concern for the other two, obviously, they're grandchildren, but they're in Craven County, which just went mandatory mask. But those four are the ones I wanted to start with. My comment is basically, you know, we got something like COVID. We start looking for a higher authority. You know, we got Raleigh, we got DC. There's a lot of fear coming out of this place, a lot of contradictions, confusion, even threats. So in my case, I take it to one higher level. I got a couple of scriptures I wanted to share. And then a couple of comments. Matthew 18:6. If anyone causes one of these little ones that believe in me to stumble, it would be better for them to have a large millstone hung around their neck and to be drowned in the depths of the sea. And then from Paul's letter to Timothy, 2 Timothy 1:7, God's not given us a spirit of fear, but one of power, love, and a sound mind. And I think there's been a tremendous amount of misinformation and fear based on the COVID stuff. I'm very limited on my research because I'm real limited with computers, but I found a couple of places. I would encourage the board to look at the website. It's govictory.com. And if you push on programs, go to Flashpoint, July 29th. There's a 40-minute presentation by an independent doctor with a lot of facts and figures that are going to run contrary to what we've kind of been fed. And it runs from masks, shots, meds, all of that, but extremely informative. And obviously, for me, it's conservative and Bible backed. So that's really important to me. There's another one, a website called frankspeech.com. And I saw a presentation of a study. This was done in England. It was done in the last 18 months over a 12-month period. I can't remember the exact months it was running. And basically the study showed in England there were 25 child deaths during that 12-month period from COVID, directly attributed to COVID. In the same period, same study, 125 child suicides. Not all that can be attributed, I'm sure, to COVID, but children killing themselves when they can't socialize and all that. That's a major concern. My request is that the board just make it optional. I think, honest to goodness, if somebody is worried about it, they need to have the option to do whatever they think to protect themselves. One thing I really like was I drop my grandkids off every so often and pick them up every so often. I really like taking temperature, because what that does, forget COVID, it makes parents be parents. Because if you got a sick kid, I had to stay home with mine. I wouldn't carry mine. And over the time when I was raising children, I watched a lot of sick kids use the public schools for daycare with sick children. And that's not right. So, I would really encourage the board to stay with the temperature check. I really support that. If you could give us an optional mask, I would really support that. If there's too much pressure from Raleigh, if you'll tell me how many signatures I need to get in the county, so we take a stand, I'll start getting signatures. And I will back this board. I'll go to Raleigh with you, anywhere you need, and I will stand with you. Thank you.
All right,
Thank you.
thank you.
Y'all have a good day.
One more?
Jake Bender.
Okay.
You should move to vote on the mask up front.
His name is Jack.
That's Chad.
Mhm.
Can he bring his family, or is it just him? He's got his family with him, can they come?
I'm not gonna do the whole spiel. I'm just gonna do the 3 minutes. Should be fine.
They need to see this in that room. Well, they need to see what we're doing in that room, so you ain't gotta read
That's
it
what I'm
again.
saying.
That's good.
Is it? Gosh.
You okay? Stand right there.
Jake, right?
Yes, sir.
All right, let me read you some parameters first.
Okay.
Comments will be limited to 3 minutes per speaker. The board is not required to and generally does not respond to any public comment or questions received at a meeting.
Okay. All right. So I came today to express our concern with the mask mandate that we're seeing around the state for the school board, school systems. As a matter of fact, I think we heard today how Craven County has decided on some of the grades for them, and gotten a lot of feedback already from parents and students there in Craven County. Talking to my kids from last year and the things that took place with the COVID-19 pandemic and the way it was approached, we feel like, I know there was a lot of unknowns and it was driven a lot by fear, is our personal opinion. And there's still just not a lot. You look at what the CDC is saying and the guidelines are laying out, and they contradict themselves every day. And that bothers me because it takes away from their ability to be a good voice for people to follow. And when they're going back and forth and so wishy-washy, we don't know what to do. But talking with my kids, I have 2 at Pollocksville Elementary School, and I have 2 more coming. And just specifically with the mask mandate, we're just here requesting that it be an option for the students and the families, the parents. That's the simple request on the mask mandate. I also came today to, I don't know if everybody got a letter, but in May, my wife had a run-in with the resource officer at Pollocksville Elementary School, and I want to speak on that a little bit. And I brought the letter that the sheriff's department gave me. We didn't like the way that was handled at all. We have completely lost our respect for the sheriff's department and the way they treated us. And I really held high regard for Jones County Sheriff's Department, Sheriff Heat. But we just feel like we were not treated well at all, not given any answers. I was not there that day, but I got a call from my wife. She had gone with her golf cart, which we had done ever since Charlie had started school, and she's been there 4 years. So she went to pick him up, and she was holding the baby in her lap when she pulled up in the golf cart, and that I think is what set off the whole situation with the baby being in her lap on the golf cart. But we also ride all over town that way, and
around resort areas with golf cart that way and have never been stopped. As a matter of fact, the police officer for the town, the sheriff's deputy for the town, always hangs out with us and talks to us, and it's always been a good situation. But she was verbally attacked. I know in his report, he said he never raised his voice, but throughout the whole situation, we have several parents that were in the carpool line behind us. The kids were all on the golf cart at this time and witnessed just a really bad exchange. And Megan was asking questions of the officer, and he was answering them, and he said he never raised his voice, but she was emotionally out of it. It was very hot that day. And his option for us with the golf cart was that we had broken, I think, 3 or 4, he had offered 3 or 4 citations. And so we had broken a lot of laws and getting there, and the way there were no child restraints. So he made her park the golf cart and then find another way home. We live 1 block away from the school on private Pollocksville owned streets. The golf cart is registered. We did have, she had to park. He didn't offer any help with like following her home, getting the golf cart home. It just said, you got to get home somehow. And so what ended up happening was the parents behind in the carpool line stepped up to help. As a matter of fact, one of the men stepped up to try to help with the conversation, and he was told to be quiet by the officer and get out and step back from the situation. And so that man and another lady allowed my kids and my wife into their vans, mind you, no car seats, restraints or anything, and then drove them home. And I had to find a way to get the golf cart home. Again, on the rules and regulations we learned about, we didn't realize, because we've been doing this all our life around Pollocksville with the golf cart, that they are supposed to be in child restraints on the golf cart. We didn't know that. So it really wasn't about the laws or what was being stated from the officer. It was about the way it was done. And then we filed a formal complaint because Captain Bateman suggested we do that after he heard our story. We went to the sheriff's department and talked to him. And he was, in that initial meeting, very awesome to deal with, very compassionate, and helped us out a lot. The SRO, David Thompson, directly is under Captain Irvin. And he came into that meeting that day too, and he was explaining rules, but he contradicted himself on a couple of the laws. And just not as compassionate about our situation as Captain Bateman. And so that's where he encouraged her to file a formal complaint. She filed a 3-page formal complaint on Officer Thompson explaining the events of the day. And then we get a letter June 7th from the sheriff's office, which you are welcome to a copy of. Can I read it? Is that okay? Don't read it.
Passed her through.
Oh, okay, all right. So if anybody wants a copy, they can have it, but just the wording in it was a slap in the face. Very arrogant. So that was our whole problem with the situation, and it's affected our ability to talk to our kids about run to them with anything. Go to the officer. He's your help. That's what we've taught them. We want them to respect all police officers. They do a very important job, but that's kind of been lost on them. They don't want to.
Okay.
So, thank you.
All right, appreciate it. Thank
I
you.
got one question. You said that the letter you got back basically stated what? That it was their mistake?
Well, no, it was,
That I'm
It was
looking
y'all's
at, they don't
mistake.
press charges.
there's one paragraph in here that really just slapped me in the face.
Would you mind if we do?
Can we get a copy of that?
Could you get a copy to our attorney?
Yes, sir.
Is this your only
It's
copy?
mine, yes, sir. Okay, get a copy.
We can get somebody to make one. Thank you.
Appreciate
Thank you,
it.
thank you all for hearing this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I asked because I thought you said the letter said it was a mistake on it. I just misunderstood.
You good?
Huh?
You need copies anyway.
Huh?
You need copies. We don't have no our place.
But we're not on.
Almost one piece.
That's a big, should be.
Okay. Ready to move forward?
Yes, sir.
Okay. We will go into item number 3, our discussion items and our facilities report.
First of all, I spoke with Tim last week about the progress in cleaning and preparation of our building for the opening of school this year, and we're on track and on target, and everything's going well with our preparations for next school year as far as the building cleanup and preparation goes. Second of all, we had the open house last week at our softball and baseball complex, and progress is moving forward on the site work for the baseball and softball field. We don't seem to have any issues. We had a fiber optic cable that was on the site, but they got that okayed, and so we can move forward. And so at this time, everything seems to be progressing fine with our baseball and softball field project.
Y'all had a very good presentation out there the other day. It was very good. You were very well spoken. Very good.
Thank you. Candace had a great deal to do with setting all that up, so
Your volume was perfect.
thank you. Thank you.
Billy's always on him about he ain't loud enough. He was good the other day.
I said that, it was the first time I could really hear you. You kind of quieted back down again.
I'll ask a question. I had asked Dr. Thigpen, I don't know, I didn't say anything to everybody, but, the yellow cap and a windscreen wasn't in the original contract. Is that moving forward?
It is moving forward. Tim has spoken with them about getting those two change orders made to include those things.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
And I've heard complaints, not complaints, but I know that, I mean, it don't take much to figure out the math and the months that we could be looking at sod in like a November, December type setting. So it was just something to think about as we move into towards the end of the job. I don't know how the contractor will navigate that. So anyway. Any other questions on the facilities? Okay. We will move into our item number 4, our action items, 2021-22 fee schedule.
Good afternoon. We should have presented this at the same time we presented the budget, but, there were some circumstances that prevented us from presenting it. These are your annual school fees, the general fees and the technology fees. On the first page, we left in the same as last year. The second page does have some requests by our IT department. We're taking some very significant hits financially with all the students having their devices and being able to take them home. So Victor has asked that we look at being able to charge them for the deductibles that we're having to pay for that damage associated with each student device. So if you have any specific questions, I'll be glad to answer them. If I can't, I will divert to David. I will tell you our insurance premiums are $56,000 on the devices, and we only collected $25,000 last year. So right off the bat, we're taking a $30,000 hit on the insurance premium, and that's not counting all the deductibles we're paying for the damage.
Do we not have any type of COVID type money because we were remote that would cover any of that expense?
It covers the operation of the expense, but not your insurance, because that would be a standard, pretty standard.
How much was the deductibles on the damage?
I would have to look up the deductibles, but your premium alone was $56,000.
No, but I mean, do we have a lot of
We have.
repairs? Was that gonna run another 20 or 30,000 or
At
more?
least.
Okay,
So if we pass those deductibles on to the students, you will only be taking the loss on the premium.
You know about what average deductible would have been, just maybe.
These are the actual deductibles that we're facing, that we're passing on to the students, so anywhere from $50 to $100, depending on the damage.
If the parents sign off on it, I would think it would be fair. When they pay it, I mean, they're going to sign the contract anyway, correct? When they pay the thing, so,
Yes.
but what are we gonna do about collecting?
But we're not even, right, we're not even collecting the money on your initial, how did you say, getting about half?
Well, you only charge $25.
You're getting that with,
You're getting that, because
Okay.
you collected $25,000 and we have 1,000 students. So you're
Okay.
getting your initial upfront.
What were you
$25,000.
saying though, that we weren't getting all of,
Well,
before?
your premium is 56,000,
Uh-huh.
and you're only charging the students 25,000.
we would have to,
I'm with you.
we would have to charge them, we could either go up to $56 to cover
We get the entire premium.
the entire premium, or go with the deductible. And I'd rather charge them the deductible than I had the premium, because you're gonna have some parents gonna have to steal $25, it's gonna be $25.
That's right.
And
Now,
if they tear it up, maybe make them more responsible.
we did look into, you can hold their transcripts or their diploma if they do not pay their fees. So now we do have means to force them to pay their fees.
We do roll those items to the next year.
If they want one, they probably
They're not
have
paid.
But, question, so what you're saying in one respect is we didn't collect all the damaged fees, correct? Here's what,
We didn't have a fee schedule to charge them for the damages, so any damages this past year, we paid those damages.
I thought it was the same schedule last year, though.
This is not the same schedule as last year, so we established this last week.
Oh, okay, I thought it said last year.
so I was thinking when, like,
The first page was the same as last year.
if they lost it or, you know, damaged it. In most situations, if the school property, they will charge the fee for that. For example, if they didn't turn their athletic uniform in, they were charged. And they may not pay it their freshman, junior, sophomore year, but senior year, they had to pay it before they graduated. So, you know, in most situations, you got that money, so that might be something, you know, they may not pay it off original, but they'd have to pay amount before they graduated, before they got their diploma.
What's the recommendation, what did Victor or who, the group that come up with this recommendation or this question, what do they recommend?
There's a whole list of different fees for each type of device. So if you have a total loss, they damage it, we're experiencing that with bug infestation. Before they couldn't, a lot of this is incurring because now they can carry the device home. So it's on a bus and things like that, whereas before, all the devices were left at school, am I correct?
With the exception of the high school.
With the exception of high school. Now K through 12 are carrying them home. So one of the things Victor's been faced a lot is with bug infestation. Now, once it's inhabited by the bugs, it's totally ruined. There's nothing you can do. So that's a total loss. There's no insurance repair for that. There's no solution other than buying a whole new backflip, which is $1,300.
But you're asking the board to adopt this fee schedule.
Yes, we're asking the board to adopt this fee schedule so we can charge the students for the deductibles or in the situation of total loss.
You ready for a motion?
Do you have a fee schedule for us to look at? Is that in this document?
This is it.
That's it. Instead of paying us and all on it.
Oh, yeah.
I motion to adopt this fee schedule if you're ready.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Mr. Austin made a motion to accept the fee schedule.
I'll second.
See y'all second. All in favor, say aye.
Yeah.
Aye. All opposed, say nay. Motion carries 5-0. Okay. Now for item 4B, vendor contract agreement 2021-22, Jones County Public Schools and Jones County Sheriff's Office School Resource Officer Program.
We currently have a contract with the Sheriff's Department to provide us 2 resource officers at the expense of $50,000 per officer each year. And we need to renew that contract, again, $50,000 per officer required for the police.
Do they require SRO certified training for these 2 people we're bringing in? Are we getting the SRO training?
Yes, sir.
Because I know that across the state, there's always been some issues about maybe not like what happened earlier in discussion, but I just wondered before we started.
Yes, sir, both of these have proceeded.
Good.
I just have, reading over the contract today, is, the last item, it said that we evaluate them every year. Who does the evaluations? Or have we been doing that?
I have conversations with, actually with Matt Lyman and JJ Irvin. But they have the actual ability to do the final evaluations. We go through and discuss, issues and concerns. Within that part of it, they actually retain rights, though, for their, the formal sheriff's office evaluations, performance reviews, so forth.
Essentially, because they're sheriff's department employees, we can provide input and feedback, but we can't evaluate this.
Yes.
Is there not a SRO type evaluation guidelines that they need to go by?
Yeah, that's what, I guess I was getting at, was that a formal?
You know, like an official, what they should be checking up on, but it's totally different than normal law enforcement.
Yeah, it's something that they may have that I can take.
I just wondered if they had that. It would be, I mean, it would be a good guidance for future SROs if they knew how they were gonna be evaluated. If they were able to see what they were gonna be evaluated
I
on.
can check in with Matt just to see if they have a different instrument to use. I do know that the SRO job description that are in that contract as to what it relates to. But I can see if there's a formal evaluation.
So you need a motion I'll make the motion to, enter the contract that you just gave us.
Second.
Mr. Griffin made a motion to accept the vendor contract agreement. Mr. Brown second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. On to item 4C, 2021-22 mask requirements.
Okay, board members, I want to share some information with you. You already have a great deal of information that I've given you, everything that I've gotten as far as masks go. You know, the main thing is kind of remember our objectives, make sure our students and staff are safe. We want our students in the building. We know they're going to learn more if they're in the building. So we've got to continue to monitor and track as we've done last year and make sure we're still involved with the ABC Science Collaborative submitting data. And we have a good relationship with our health department, and they've worked with us well last year, and we expect that to continue. And then we want to be great communicators with our staff, with our parents, community, and DHHS and NCDBI in all that we do. And so, you know, the number one priority is that we keep everybody safe and our students in the building. I've shared with you information from the Strong Schools Toolkit and the ABC Science Collaborative. They are recommending masking. The ABC Science Collaborative talks about, you know, compares two sites that don't mask, and the infection rate is 1% where they mask and it's 13% in another study where they do not mask. And of course, those are the recommendations from the Science Collaborative, and that's to adhere to masking. And there are more site-based approach as far as quarantining. When we have a student go positive, they give us a little more room with that. This is just a list of all the documents that I've shared with you, whether it range from Pitt County's board meeting, other counties' board meetings. The big area of concern we have is if we have a classroom and a positive test and the students are masked, then only that student has to go home and the teacher has to go home. But if they're unmasked and we have a positive test in the classroom, we're in a situation where everybody may have to go home. And Danielle, you can add some insight to that for them to help them understand how that tracking process works.
Yes, sir. Keeping the kids in school is one of those top priorities. If the person who is positive and the other students in the classroom are masked, only the child that's positive has to go home at that time. If one of them are unmasked, then we'll have to send the students home for that quarantine timeframe. So that is one of the considerations for what our future is.
So, Colin can address these, as far as the legal requirements, and correct me, Colin, if I'm wrong, but from what I understand legally, there's no state or federal mandate to wear the face coverings. It is required on transportation because of the CDC requirements, but you as a local board have the authority to encompass health and safety requirements. We can't require anyone to get vaccinated, but we can require proof of vaccination if we need that to ascertain, who we need to quarantine and not quarantine. So, Colin, anything you would like to add or share with our board?
No, it's a good summary. And when you have required proof vaccination for students on there for 5 and 6, I mean, we can't, as you said, we can't require students to vaccinate, but we could say that if you want to be exempt from masks, you need to show us that. And if, in order to reduce quarantine time, you need to show us that. So the way that is accurate, I just don't want to be any confusion. Ultimately, we can't require a student to get vaccinated right now.
I've got a question. If, say I'm a student and I'm in the 9th grade and I've been vaccinated and the teacher's been vaccinated, but yet we're all not wearing masks and somebody's test positive in the classroom, the ones that have got proof of vaccination and the teacher's got proof of vaccination, can they continue to stay there even though they didn't have on a mask, but they were vaccinated?
The very latest update that we have, it says within 90 days. But I know that's one of the things that they're looking at to consider, that if you've had COVID, and how it's worded, is if you have COVID or you have received a vaccination within the last 90 days, they should have separated that out, but they didn't. So I think we're going to have another revision coming, but right now it's within that 90 days.
I think that Cooper's going to probably follow an executive order anyway. That's what I think.
So, I mean, as board members, I went to Johnson County and looked to the east, and there's 18 different counties I looked at. I think there were 8 that are, there were 18 maybe that have made a decision at this point by now, and there's 17 more that have to make decisions, but I believe 10 of them were masking and 8 were not. So there are people on both sides of the fence throughout. And I suspect at the end of this week, a lot of boards will decide that. So, whatever you decide as a board, we're going to enact and try to do the very best we can to keep the kids
Let me tell you
safe.
how I feel. I feel like we probably need to take the temperatures like we've been doing and let it be mask optional. I mean, we can spread them out in the classroom. We're not that big. We shouldn't have been home last year, in my opinion. We're the length of time we were. And that's how I'm going to vote if I'm the Lone Ranger. But I mean, everybody was happy with the principal or whoever our designee was checking the temperature, because even if they don't have COVID, we don't need them in there with the flu or any other kind of temperature, any other kind of disease.
You saved a lot of other stuff, sicknesses, probably.
Give them the option to wear a mask, and let's keep masks there. If somebody doesn't feel comfortable, let them wear it or whatever. If the teacher doesn't feel comfortable, let her wear the mask if the kids don't wear it. But I mean, I don't see it any other way. You can quote me on all that if you want to. I don't care.
Do we know a ballpark percentage of how many of our teachers are vaccinated?
That we gave vaccination clinics last year, and we had about 55 to 60% of our teachers to receive it. However, we don't know updated.
But you were talking about
If they
teachers,
did it
students.
I would
outside.
really like to know how many of the staff, of the teachers are vaccinated.
If they received it privately, we don't have that.
Right.
We can't, we asked, and we put a bullet there for it, but some chose not to respond.
I would like to see optional for both staff and students of pre-K through 12. If they see, a rise in, the data, and I think eventually if gets bad enough that there's gonna be mandates from the state and the government, anyway.
We won't have anything to do with
I
that.
think we would, I think it's like remote or go to school. I think parents should make that decision about their child.
Yeah, I can tell you what few people that have supported me while I've gotten elected. Yeah, I think everyone of them's either called me or told me or sent me a text. And ain't nobody, not one soul has said they want to see a mask.
That's mine.
Same here.
Not one
Same
soul.
here with mine.
I mean, but I think if there's somebody that doesn't feel comfortable,
I
they
think
should have the
wear
option
a
to wear it.
mask.
And
Yeah.
that's why I feel like it's optional.
What about on buses, transportation?
I think it should be optional.
I don't see any different in the bus though, are we gonna still be required to space them out on the buses like we were last year?
They have relaxed those guidance.
No, I mean, I don't see any difference. I mean, we need to take were we taking temperatures as they got on the bus?
Mhm.
Actually, we did, but then later in the school year, they recommended we stop taking temperatures because it wasn't an effective screening tool for COVID. And so we stopped. David, do you remember exactly when? It was,
I believe it was March.
February, March sometime.
So we just stopped it all together on the buses and at school?
They said it was not a prediction on the rate, if the child had a temperature that they didn't test positive for COVID or vice versa. Just for the simple fact of during the, fall months, when it was hot outside, they were taking temperatures, the child had been standing outside for a week at a time. They were registering high. And in the winter, they were registering.
There was also a great deal of students that did register as a fever, but came back later as positive for COVID. So they said it was an effective screening tool for it.
I have to defer to you guys on the bus requirements as of right now. So it's not required under the toolkit. And I guess the toolkit now has no requirements. So really, so
I have an update, Colin, from, that it was required on the, bus.
I thought I heard that as well.
I did.
Who can require that?
It says, are there current any federal or state legal mandates for staff and students to wear face coverings on school buses? And it says, yes, on January 29th, the CDC issued an order that requires all passengers and operators on board public transportation conveyances to wear face coverings. This is a memo.
Let it
Are we gonna have
CDC
to-
require.
Will we have to supply the face coverings on the bus? Is that what we did before?
If they don't have them, then yes.
We get it set out, and we have masks, but, they can be distributed to schools.
CDC can
It
require
was a
that.
set of 5 for
Right,
5.
January, you said.
They can recommend it.
That was when it was the hottest last year.
That was January though, right?
Yeah.
That's
July.
Okay.
It said, on page 8 is where it says all schools should, per CDC orders, require passengers and staff to wear a face covering on buses, vans, and other group school transportation.
Yes, they should though, right?
Yes, all schools should.
But now that's
Sure,
not,
that-
that's not
that
mandated
eliminates-
though, is it?
Yeah,
That's just a suggestion.
that's a suggestion.
Candace Collins.
That's the same thing with the state.
CDC can only recommend, right,
Recommend
Carl?
it.
Started. Adam
This
Mitchell.
is out of the public schools,
Public schools.
toolkit, the one that we received.
But they recommend it.
It says all schools should, it doesn't say must, it says should
Should.
ensure
That's
that
not
they're
required.
masking on buses. I think that.
So it was a CDC federal regulation. Yeah, so yeah. So for buses, it's a federal regulation that requires masks.
So that's Dr. Fauci.
Yeah,
Well, it
so
doesn't
unlike
sound-
most of the toolkit, that's a mandate, not merely a recommendation.
It doesn't sound like that we have any option on the bus, but we're doing classroom. I mean, we're gonna have to follow whatever the federal guidelines are, I would assume. It's our side of our hands, is it not? So,
That's what I meant, like that, we didn't
On
be
the
us.
bus.
But in the school, it's our,
I'll make a motion, we be optional, both teacher and student. And, you know, well, staff is student, that'll cover everybody.
Mhm.
I would like for us to also, but I'd still like for us to kind of monitor and not accept anybody that appears to be sick. I don't think we should have that. I mean, it needs to go, I mean, we need to have some kind of thing, Colin, that we can handle, we can reject somebody that comes in that appears to be sick, especially this school nurse season, we can take them out, right? Is that in our guidelines already?
We have a board policy on contagious disease. I know that is there. And then there's also symptomatic, students where the nurse can,
But we can
look
pull
at
them.
we do have that.
Who
We do
takes
the
it?
same things we've done in the past, we held the room, just designated.
Yes, it
Quarantine.
does have, that's one of the recommendations, that we have a quarantine room.
Mhm.
got a motion on the floor by Mr. Griffin for optional masks for staff and students.
I'll second.
Second by Ms. Figure.
But this is with, we're not gonna require temperature anymore. We're not gonna do that?
And we said it wasn't an effective tool, so there wasn't a need.
Okay.
I mean, that's, I don't want to do this. They're gonna have to do what, just do an appearance wellness check, I guess. That'll just be the discretion of the
It'll be a
Administrator.
visual, be a visual type.
I don't know, well, I mean, I would assume it'd be administrative and staff that had to do that.
All
That'd
right,
be out of our hands.
What was his motion?
For students and staff to be optional masks,
Starting day one.
starting day one. Mask required on the buses per mandate. And Ms. Figure seconded. All in favor? All opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Just on that discussion, just a second more. Athletics has nothing to do with this, correct?
Well, the High School Athletic Association will have guidelines that our athletics program will have to abide by. And then if we visit a district that has more restrictive and, requirements, we're going to abide by those, just as they would abide by ours.
But the High School Athletic Association, they've been sending guidelines that we've been following, correct?
Yes, we
Mhm.
followed all of the High School Athletic Association guidelines.
What was their last sport guideline? I guess that'd be baseball, correct?
No mask.
No mask in baseball.
That went away during volleyball season. I think. They wore them some during the first volleyball.
Okay.
I don't think they completed the season with them, did they?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-mm. They did complete the season with them?
Okay,
Okay.
But baseball.
Baseball.
But baseball and tennis, no,
that's when they start hitting.
yes, and track, they didn't.
Okay. All right.
The spring sports did not.
Correct.
That's what it amounts to.
Any further discussion on mask requirements? Okay. At this time, I'll entertain a motion to go into executive closed session for personnel reasons pursuant to North Carolina General Statute 143-31811A136.
So moved.
I'll second.
Motion by Mr. Griffin, second by Mr. Walton. All in favor, say aye. All opposed, say nay. Motion carries 5-0. We are in a closed session at this time.
Cut the screen off, Mr. Parker.